It is now time for a tour of Illustrator. I'm going to be going over several essential things in this program, things that I'm going to be referring back to and that we are going to be working with repeatedly. Aspects like paths and anchor points, shapes, panels, tools, and some keyboard shortcuts, all of which will be useful to us in our journey into Illustrator. I'm going to start off by going into a new file, by going to File and New. I don't need to change anything here. I'm just going to click OK. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle. There we go. Now if I hover over this line right here, it says in kind of hard to read green letters, path. If I hover over one of the corners, like one of the points right here, it says anchor. So we need to be aware of those two things. An anchor point is an area of a shape that we can modify. So you might recall us doing something like this, using the direct selection tool to modify one of the points of a shape. Now a path is a line between 2 points. So this is a path, that's a path. These lines are all paths. If I draw an ellipse or a circle, we can see anchor points here on the sides and top and bottom, and the line between each of those points is also a path. So anchor points can be found in the corners of a shape, or in the case of a star, at the points, or whenever a line changes direction. So we can clearly see that this line is no longer going in the same direction as this, so that produces an anchor point right there that can be modified. And the same holds true if you go around the entire star. So they're found in the corners where the line changes direction, or in the case of an ellipse or a circle, they're found on the sides and on the top and bottom. So that's the significance of paths and anchor points. One thing we're going to be able to do as we move along in Illustrator is change colors. So down here we have the fill and stroke box. Fill is the inside color, stroke is the outline. So, you can just do this. I can double click and give this rectangle this color stroke. I can go up here and increase the stroke weight or thickness. Now, what if I want to apply a gradient? Yes, we can do that too, just like in Illustrator. Excuse me, this is Illustrator, just like in Publisher. I'm going to go over here to what's called the gradient panel. I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm going to go over here to the gradient panel. It's right in the center. If you look at the button here, it's a button, or it's a rectangle that fades from black to white. So it's a fading color. It is a pretty suitable icon for a gradient. Alright, so once we're in this panel, which is an area of the interface that gives us options, specific options, we can control whether or not we apply it to the fill or stroke. Whichever box is out in front is the one we're going to be applying it to. So if I want to apply it to the fill, I need to click this box just once, and now you can see that the red box is in front of the blue one. I can start off by just selecting any of these preset ones. So you can start off with white and black, or you can do something like fading sky. It doesn't really matter because they're both 2 colors. The orange and yellow one is more than 2. But anyway, I'm going to start off with white and black, and the gradient sliders on each end determine the color of that area of the gradient. These are referred to as gradient stops in Publisher, but they are the same thing. Let's keep these over on the sides just so we can have the colors on each side. Now there are a few different ways we can change the color of a gradient. We can double click the slider to bring this up and click an area here. My preferred method is to click the slider once and double click the fill box. You can also double click it down here if you want to. But this gives you could say, the traditional way of changing a color, and it gives you more customizability, or makes it easier to customize. So I'll click the one on the right, double click the fill box, and just make it yellow. You know what? I'll do red and yellow for fall, or for Thanksgiving. There we go. So it fades from red to yellow, and we can actually, if we want to, click this button to reverse the gradient. Now it goes from yellow to red. Or we can drag these sliders to control when one color starts and one begins. Excuse me, when one stops and one begins. Yeah. Another thing we could do is we can change the type of gradient from linear to radial. Linear means straight, so it's going straight from one color to the other. Radial means circular. Think of the radius of a circle for you math people out there. There we go. And if I want to, again, reverse the colors, I can just do that. I can add another color by clicking anywhere below this bar to add another slider. Then from then on, it's just a matter of changing the color, like that. So that looks pretty neat. And if I want to apply a gradient to a stroke, I can click the stroke box. And it remembered the last 3 colors I used. But I can reset it and just do whatever I like. So that's how we can apply a gradient to either the fill or the stroke. I can really crank up the stroke weight so you can see it. Of course, it fades out almost completely at the end. Whoa, that was almost too much for my laptop to handle. I better be careful here. Anyway, let me just draw another shape, because we should know how to group shapes together. Say for whatever reason we want to group these fantastic looking rectangles together. A couple different ways we can do that. We can click and drag to form a box around everything. Or we can click one object, hold down Shift, and click another. And I believe we can also hold Control. No, I guess Control doesn't work. Never mind. In some programs it does. But what does work is we can press Control and A. That highlights all the stuff on your entire page. So you do want to be careful with that. It highlights all of it. A stands for all. But either method you use, no matter what method you use, after you select everything, you right click, and can you guess what option you click here? That's right, group. Then you can move and resize everything you selected as one. If you want to ungroup later, just right click anywhere on there and go to ungroup. It's worth noting though that, and I just went back, after you click ungroup, everything is still selected, so it might seem like everything is still grouped, but you have to just click off it and back on it. That'll be important to note in a future activity we'll be doing involving a beach ball. You have to click on it and then back on it. I mean, yeah, I said that right. Off it, back on it. So anyway, we have a lot of different specific options with our panels here. We'll be taking a look at these one by one. One very important panel that's going to come up again and again is our layers panel. Working with layers allows us to modify one piece or one part of our project without affecting another. So I'm not going to ask you to do this stuff for our very first project. Like, I'm not going to ask you to have like multiple layers for your first project. In the future I will. So let's just say that these shapes were on a layer at the bottom. I'll just call them bottom shapes. I just double click that to rename it. If I click right here to lock that layer, I can freely draw anything I want. Okay, let me just enable a paintbrush here. It doesn't matter which one I choose. I can draw anything I want here, and it looks like I really messed up what's underneath. Oh, well, that's pretty cool. It was set to the gradient. Huh, how about that? But anyway, either way, it looks like I really messed up what was underneath. But I can delete this layer And as we can see, the bottom shapes are unaffected. So I'll put that back. I can also just click this eyeball to hide it. So by locking this layer, I'm not able to affect what's underneath or what's on that layer. See, that's the benefit of working with layers. We can place something on one layer, lock it, and not have to worry about accidentally destroying it in the future. Or if we know we don't want anything on this layer anymore, we can just delete it and take it all out in one fell swoop. It helps us be more organized too, because we can name each layer. We know exactly what goes where. So that's pretty neat, in my humble opinion. Oh, I just had to show that layer in order to actually draw on it. So we can draw multiple things on the same layer in this program. In Photoshop, it's a little bit different, but in Illustrator, we can most certainly do that. We don't need to worry about Photoshop right now. I just want to cover what a swatch is, because we'll be seeing that real soon. A swatch is anything pre-made. A color that's already been made, a pattern that's already been made. And yeah, anything that's pre-made. You can actually create your own swatches. Like you can customize a pattern, which we'll be doing eventually. You can create a specific color and save that as a swatch. Once you save it, it is now a swatch. When you're making it, it is not. A gradient can be a swatch as long as it's already been made. It can come with the program or it can be made by you. If we click this button right here, open swatch or swatch libraries menu, we can see different categories. These are just categories of colors. Like these are all colors, although these are gradients. And these are patterns. See, these are just pre-made patterns. But some of these are just flat out colors. Like if I select foods and sweets, what else would I choose? These are just preset colors. So that's what a swatch is. Anything that's pre-made. So yeah, we can find all these on the swatches panel. So anyway, we'll be working with a number of panels. Swatches, gradient panel, and layers panel, and a few others as time goes on. Just really quickly, just want to go over the type tool. The type tool allows you to enter text. It allows you to type. I'm always going to use the exact name of the tool. I know a lot of people are tempted to refer to it as the text tool because, I mean, that does make sense. But I'm just going to use the word type because that is what it's called in the program. So once we enter text like this, we can customize the font. Oh, Papyrus. This is the font used for the movie Avatar. Yep, that's it. And you can just type in whatever size you want. Although I tend to not mess with the size right there because you can just do this. And that's an easy way of getting the text to be as large as you want. So anyway, that's the type tool. If I click somewhere with the eyedropper tool, like I click this, just this gray background right here, it acquires that color. And see how I put it in the fill box? Well, now if I hold down Alt, the symbol changes, and I can now paste that color into whatever I click. Oh, okay, I pasted it into the text. Since, even though I clicked right here, the text box is all over here. So yeah, let's just say that I want to copy another color. Let's just say I have a picture, because you can use pictures too. You can copy any color you see on the screen. Let's just say that, oops, 1 second. I want to deselect that. Okay, let's just say that this color is set here right now and I want to copy that red. I can click this red, hold Alt, click inside this rectangle, and I can copy and paste that exact color. So we'll be making good use of that very soon. I'm going to finish this off with some keyboard shortcuts. As we should know by now, we can always use Control S to save our stuff. If this is our first time saving, then it'll go to Save As automatically. You notice that I may have undone a couple moves earlier on in this video. You can use Control and Z for that. You can undo many moves. Look at that, I'm just holding it down, and it's undoing my entire project. There appears to be a limit as to how many moves we can go back. But rest assured, you'll probably never reach that limit. Let's just say we went back too far, and we want to redo our moves. As we can see, and by the way, the keyboard shortcuts are listed beside their different commands. I hit Control Z to undo. Redo, it's not Control Y, like it is in other programs. It's Control Shift and Z, or as it says here, Shift Control Z. So I'm going to hold down Shift and Control and Z, and now I will redo everything that I undid. Control Y is usually redo in other pieces of software, but in this program, it goes into outline view, and it just shows you the outlines of objects. And the text is considered an outline. That's why that's being shown. Although it still shows the text. So yeah, press Control Y again to go back into regular view. So anyway, that's our tour of Illustrator. There'll be many more things to learn in the near future.